We're so pleased to have His Excellency, the UN Secretary-General, with us today, such a strong advocate for gender equality and women's rights. So it's a great pleasure to have you here with us. Today we have recognised those individuals who have really made a decision to lead across the world in different organisations, different nations. And I think we have a different mix up here than we often would have. Probably, a decade ago it would have been all women. It's really pleasing to see so many strong men stepping up beside women, not speaking for us, not trying to rescue us, but stepping up beside us as equal partners in changing and creating a more gender equal world. So as we have the Secretary-General here today, I just wanted to ask our panellists one last question. If you could just answer in 30 seconds or so. So a very encapsulated view. But the Secretary-General has made engaging with the private sector a priority across the United Nations, and particularly with the UN Global Compact. As strong role models and leaders in promoting gender equality within the private sector, what do you see as one key success factor for a deep engagement between the United Nations and the private sector? And if I could start, Federico, with you. Just a little bit of advice to us.
I think education has a very important role in this. And I think that working through the Global Compact chapters in each nations and with universities, and basically universities, we will help to incorporate the civil society in all of this. So my suggestion would be to work in that way, to involve the civil society, because in that way, civil society will start demanding from businesses and from governments the fulfillment of the principles.
Thank you very much. Lance?
Thanks, Liz. I think an important question. I think the UN clearly is about setting standards in this area, but more particularly it's about providing leadership. The opportunity to engage in the way that Federico has just said, but my particular suggestion would be to strengthen the opportunity for sharing of best practice. When we come together in an environment like this, inevitably we all hear such tremendous anecdotes and such tremendous data, and I think that if we all were as good as the best that already exists, it's the old story, we would accelerate the closure of that gap that we were talking about immeasurably.
Thank you, Lance. And I'll hand to Janet.
Please take your headphones if you don't speak Spanish. I'm going to do it in Spanish. Thank you for this. Creo que hay un trabajo conjunto con Naciones Unidas donde podríamos realmente ver cómo generar condiciones para acoger a la mujer en el mundo del trabajo. Es realmente el origen social del problema y sabemos que si lo abordamos es la única manera de crear riqueza y de disminuir la desigualdad. Y hablo concretamente de estudios que hoy se hacen en la región donde la principal razón por qué la mujer no entra al mercado laboral es por un problema real de no tener personas que le ayuden con el cuidado de los hijos o que le ayuden con el cuidado de los ancianos o de los quehaceres del hogar. Entonces creo que ahí hay una labor importante en cómo en conjunto proveemos el desarrollo de redes de apoyo que tienen que ver con salas cunas, con cómo llevar las escuelas más cerca de los hogares y sobre todo también promover políticas públicas que se centren en la flexibilidad laboral, que se centren también en cómo ayudar a la corresponsabilidad entre hombres y mujeres y hacer un mejor fit entre el rol productivo que le toca al hombre y el rol reproductivo que no está asociado a las mujeres.
And the reproductive role that is traditionally associated with women.
Thank you.
Liz, thank you. I think the one thing I'd call out, and it came up in the discussion earlier, is really dealing with the social norms around the women's place in the workplace, in the family home. When I look at our organization, so many of our challenges around those social norms in terms of the expectations of women, how hard it is to create an agile work environment, not from a structural point of view, but from a social point of view in terms of acceptance and stigma, creating an environment where women can return to work very easily. So to me, one of the biggest challenges, and it came up in some of the earlier conversation, is really challenging those social norms. And we in business need to take that on, but in a way where best practice is shared and where the United Nations leads as well.
Thank you, David. And Emmanuel?
We're looking for opportunities to develop a joint practical program that makes sense for our businesses as well. We think if we do programs that does not make sense for the business, it's very difficult to find an agreement from the organization and the member of the organization. We also think that we should develop fewer but bigger programs that are really meaningful and programs that are driven by the substance and the effectiveness. Communication comes at a later time when success is there.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. And thank you to each of our award recipients for your leadership. We certainly heard today that the private sector must be a strong partner in driving change. We heard strong themes around leadership, and we're seeing leaders exhibited up here on the stage today. We heard about the need for men to step up as equal partners in change. And what we all know, but what we reinforced was that more gender equal workplaces in which both men and women can thrive, will build economies, will build families, will build nations, and will really lead to global change. Every one of us can drive change. Sometimes you think, oh no, you have to be extraordinary. I know from the work that I've done that just doing what you can when you can, that's how you change the world. And I think our recipients are a great example of that today. So I hope that you have been as inspired as we have to hear the stories and the strategies that have been talked about today, and to see the impact that people are having in their sphere of influence. Thank you for everything that you do to shape a more gender world, and particularly the people on the panel today. Thank you, and I'll hand it back to Rini.
Thank you, Liz and Joe. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, this year's WEPs CEO Award recipients set a very high bar for chief executives everywhere. And I hope that all business representatives feel inspired to ratchet up gender equality initiatives and implement the WEPs. So we hope to see your CEO here in 2017.